So she was like,
It is 20.
It is in
12 months.
Yeah.
We're live? Okay. I don't seem to have a gap. So too loud. I'm gonna go ahead and call us to order because it's just after 7 and welcome everyone. I'll invite you to join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great beginning. We're going to move on to a full agenda, but real quickly, I'm going to ask for just a small modification that we move item 9D under new business, appointment at the Gildersleeve Elementary School principal. I'd like to make that item A, and then we'll just renumber the others accordingly. With that modification, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved, Meg.
Thanks, Meg. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Dave. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. We will move to approval of the consent agenda. This evening, that includes the approval of the April 1st, 2025 Board of Education regular meeting minutes, approval of a Planet 8 donation to Brownstone Intermediate School in the amount of $39.75, and approval of a Shutterfly LLC donation to Valley View Elementary School in the amount of $211.78. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Meg. Is there a second? Seconded by Sarah. Thanks, Sarah. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Audience of citizens, do we have anyone with us in person this evening who would like to address the board at this point? Do we have anyone online? There'll be a second opportunity for public comment towards the end of our agenda. The next item is our Portland Public Schools Spotlight, and we're really excited to welcome a fabulous group of students. This is the WPHT crossover announcement program. And Mr. Bernard, will you be introducing them?
I will be.
All right.
Any-
Well, well.
All right. For those of you who don't know me, I am Dylan Bernard, the high school advisor to the morning announcement program for WPHT. This is Paige Fitzgibbons, my executive producer, and Liam Rowe, one of the other high school producers that we have. I'm gonna let them kind of talk through it. We also have with us some of our middle school announcement kids, if you'd like to come up, and some of our biz news kids as well. Who will be participating a couple times throughout the different components. So, next slide. And next one.
Okay, students in Portland participating in morning announcements at Brownstone, the middle school, and the high school. Last year, the Brownstone News was featured in a Board of Education Spotlight, which inspired the idea to host a crossover event involving Biz News, WPHT, and WPHT. This program aims to provide a fun and informative start to the day. Over the past year, we have successfully run 3 crossover events to enhance the cohesion and retention of our initiative. This initiative engaged students across 3 schools, 8 grades, and involved dozens of participating, along with 5 dedicated staff members. During the crossover events, students from all 3 programs convened in the high school studio for combined announcements, enriching the skills of younger students while providing older students opportunities to teach and lead their younger counterparts.
All right, so we have some slides to go around with this. So in December of 2023, we launched our first broadcast where the middle school and high school crews collaborated to demonstrate studio operations to the Brownstone students, followed by a Q&A session. This following year, we invited both crews back in December for another crossover. This time in March, we gave Brownstone students full control of the studio equipment, supported by middle school or high school students. So on the board shows our past one from December, where a bunch of students from Brownstone Middle School and High School are together. Then this is our most recent one in March. We didn't have as many students come up from Brownstone, but we were able to incorporate more students from the Brownstone to work our equipment in the tech, because in the past we haven't been able to really have them do it. And so now we were able to give them more hands-on experience with that.
Up next, we have a quick clip of part of the broadcast, and then we'll invite some other Brownstone kids up. To speak.
Today is a special episode of Morning Announcement. We have students here from Brownstone News, JHBN, and WPHT. Sewing Club is always open to new members. Will you be free tomorrow, Tuesday, April 1st? Come check out Sewing Club after school. You can hand sew or learn how to use a sewing machine, and you can bring your own projects and supplies, or see what's available. Students have made pillows, pencil cases, costumes, stuffed animals, and so much more. Please let Miss Lucas know if you're interested in joining, and make sure you have a way to get home at 4. The next 3 Tuesdays are Sewing Club days. Mamma Mia, here we go again. Another year, another prom. This year's theme is Mamma Mia. It will take place on May 9th at the Glastonbury Hills Country Club at 6 p.m. Tickets will be sold in the PHS cafeteria during both lunch breaks during the week of April 21st to the 25th. The ticket price is $85. Every Monday at Biz, we feature a theme of the week. Here's this theme of the week that was submitted by Olivia E. in 7th grade. The Middle School Student Council is also hosting a spring dance on Friday, April 4th from 5:30 to 7 p.m. Make sure you have your dancing shoes and dress in place. We will have pizza, snacks, and plenty of fun. Starting next week, the junior class is selling popcorn to help raise money for their senior activities. Please see Mr. Bernard, Miss Larson, or one of the junior class officers for more information. This Wednesday is Paraprofessional Appreciation Day. Thursday, April 3rd, there is a half day for all students due to the parent-teacher conferences. This is also School Library Appreciation Day. Make sure to show your appreciation to Miss Miller, Miss Rafa, and Mrs. Stilina, as well as all of the paras in your school.
So that was just one of the portions of the broadcast. We tried really hard to put a high school kid with a middle school kid and a biz kid, and we alternated the announcements as you saw. And it went live to all 3 schools at the exact same time. So at this point, I figured we could invite some of our biz kids up.
Good evening. My name is Sophia Turjanowski, and I joined the news because I love being creative and I love thinking outside the box. I also love learning more about talking from big groups of people, what to say and how to say it. My mom is also a design teacher, so she is teaching me along the way. Shout out to her. I thought the crossover was very interesting to see how other schools work in terms of the news. For the second crossover trip, I was an anchor and I felt very professional in the news studio. Overall, I liked the crossover very much and I learned a lot from the kids at the high school and middle school. I'll definitely participate in the news next year. I love the idea of being a mentor to younger kids, like the 5th graders. I can't wait to do the news next year and beyond. Thank you, Miss G, for helping us through the way and organizing the business. Thank you.
So my name is Raymond Justino, and I'm a 6th grade student at Biz. I did the Biz News this year, and the reason I joined is my sister is Anna. She has experience with the news in middle school and high school, and I saw the fun that 6th grade the year before me had, so I just wanted to join and try it out. This 6th grade has been amazing in the news, and when I got the chance to see the other grades and how they did it, the news, I was jumped at the opportunity. When I extended my knowledge and I got to see what I could do or become in high school and middle school with the news team. And I got to see how the news was more involved in the later years and how it's similar to real life news. And shout out to Miss G for the News 8 field trip. And at that trip to the news crossover, I worked on graphics, and it was super cool to see how everything collided together. And I definitely want to join the news crew in 7th grade. And so far, my news experience has been amazing.
So that was those were members of our biz crew. Cass, if you go to the next slide. Up until this point, we have been doing a lot with the middle school. The middle school has been using our high school studio every single morning, coming up, broadcasting live from our school. This year, Mr. Toussaint was doing a lot of work to get a new studio fully created. So we're able to actually use this crossover as a send off for producer Carly and her crew to launch the brand new studio. So in this clip, you can kind of see the introduction to the new JHBN, which our middle school crew would be able to talk about in a moment.
The final broadcast for middle school students in WPHT. The room 11 at Portland Middle School there is a brand new television studio called JHBN, which will debut its first ever morning announcement stream tomorrow morning. The link to their channel can be found on the middle school website. We would also like to thank WPHT for hosting us these past years and look forward to returning when we come to high school. Now over.
My name is Charlie Graham. For the JHBN studio, we have experienced so many new things compared to the high school, and we're learning along the way, like all the differences between the high school and the middle school. And it is a really good experience in the technological field. And we are really excited for this studio.
My name is Tegan Piasek. I just wanted to talk about how we've been facing a lot of technical difficulties in the new studio, and we have had to have like problem-solving skills to work through these issues. And we've just been learning a lot, and it's been a really nice experience.
My name is Lauren, and I've been doing the news broadcasting since 7th grade, and I've really enjoyed this new studio. It's a great way to learn about new like technological things, and yeah. Thank you.
The last new piece that we started doing with the crossover, if Cass goes to the next slide. So at the high school, we have a journalism course that helps satisfy the graduation requirement for some of our seniors. They can opt to take it as an elective. And part of the new focus with Rob Jones and I has been having some of his journalism kids go out, do research, do interviews, collect statistics and whatnot, and then writing reports that are actually airing on announcements. So we have one of those that was my lead sports producer, Fred, from the journalism department.
Today. The baseball team got back on track Friday and defeated East Hampton 7-4 at East Hampton. Portland exploded in the top of the third, scoring 6 runs on 5 hits to take the lead 7-2. The biggest blow in the inning was a single by Jerry Hall that drove in 2. Aaron Troliglio earned the win on the mound, allowing 5 hits and 2 earned runs over 5 innings, striking out 3 and walking 4. Hall and Yandel Rivera each came on in relief for the Highlanders and shut down the bell ringers. Zach Dixon and Ethan Wells each drove in 1 run for Portland. Hall led Portland with 2 hits and 4 at-bats, and Nick Johnson stole 2 bases. Portland plays at home today against Morgan.
So every day, journalism submits additional announcements for whichever sports we're just going on. Sometimes they'll do some of the daily, like what are the features. For for the different heritage months and stuff to that nature. On our very last slide, we have kind of how we exited the slideshow of the crossover. We were actually successfully able to pull off a phone-in segment between the two schools of the middle school and high school. So you can see which class won that, and then our general exit where we like to feature everyone who participated in the behind the scenes to kind of show you just how many people were there on the day of. Take it away, Cass.
Congratulations to Miss Video's class. The answer was Hey Soul Sister by Train. And to close, we wanted to give you a behind the scenes look at what helped with today's show.
And that's the crossover.
Thank you all so much for being here. Do we have any questions for any of our guests? Oh, absolutely. Sure.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Not a
Anybody?
question, just a comment. I think it's great that we're getting all these students together. They're learning what the upperclassmen are doing. They're sharing and they're mentoring each other. I think that's what learning is all about. So congratulations to a very successful program and congratulations on the new studio in the middle school. Really lovely.
I do have to give a shout out to one of the other producers who couldn't be here tonight. Lily Gaetani was the one who came up with the idea for the second broadcast and really having the biz kids come in and like operate the equipment and whatnot. At the same time, the request came up from the middle school for them to come back again this year. And I was like, actually, Lily just had an idea and whatnot.
Super. Congratulations.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And to all of our wonderful students, thank you for being here. You're welcome to stay if you're interested in any more of our meeting, but you're also not obligated to stay. If you have homework and dinner and bedtime to get to, that's okay also. Thank you.
Well done.
That might have to be turned up. All right. Well, that was just wonderful. We are going to turn to Liam, our student representative, for a report.
Give me 2 seconds here to switch my hats.
Of course.
So
Hold that microphone a little closer to you so everybody can hear you.
thank you. So today, graduation email was sent out to our seniors as their graduation is rapidly approaching. I believe 27 days.
Around the corner.
In other news, spring sports are having great seasons. Softball had their senior night last week with a win over Vinyl Tech. The track, tennis, and golf teams are scheduled to have their senior nights next week on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, respectively, if the rain cooperates. Baseball has theirs the following week on the 21st. Here at the high school, we're having quite a large number of field trips to look forward to. DECA had a successful trip to Foxwoods for the Foxwoods Casino Business Experience yesterday. The Harbor program will be taking students on a plethora of trips from now until the end of the year to acknowledge students' success and achievements. The freshman class will be attending a trip to the Hartford stage on May 15th to see Romeo and Juliet. The senior class trip is scheduled for May 19th, a trip to Boston, including a Red Sox game. Especially exciting is the junior senior prom coming up this Friday at Glastonbury Hills Country Club. In music news, the chorus and band will play at the Argoats game on the 15th, where they will take the field and perform the national anthem and Just Dance, respectively. Bear with me here. Today, AP testing kicked off with AP Chemistry and AP Government taking their tests, being a tough start, especially for some students enrolled in both courses. This coming Thursday is National Teacher Appreciation Day, allowing this week to be Teacher Appreciation Week. So the PHS Student Senate has been putting together some special events to thank the faculty and staff at Portland High School for all they do for the student body and community of Portland, starting with a breakfast yesterday morning. On a more personal note, I would like to thank all of our wonderful teachers here in Portland for creating a wonderful learning environment with endless encouragement and support for our students here. There are two teachers who I would especially like to thank, as they do so much for me and the community, being Mrs. Stotler and the one and only Mr. Bernard. And support. Lastly, on behalf of the Student Senate, I would like to thank all families who contributed to the festivities for our wonderful faculty here in Portland.
Thank you, Liam. Are there any questions for Liam? All right, thank you. Okay, communications and updates. We will get off with Dr. Britton's report.
Don't have many because I know we have a long meeting. So first, I included a May enrollment report for you. We are standing strong, 1,210 students. This time last year, we were at 1,219. Any questions about? We'll get one more report in June. Otherwise, you can see the pretty stable enrollment for the year. Second, we did have a resignation from, I hope I pronounce this last name, Jane Apusiati. She's a part-time math interventionist at the middle school. Unfortunately, she's a retired teacher and they're not able to work more than 50% of their time. And next year, our goal is to increase that position. So unfortunately, she's not going to be able to take it. We wish her all the best and she did a great job for our students this year. Thank you for what you did for us this week. Joe, best of luck. Okay, a couple of quick ones. Thank you for recognizing Teacher Appreciation Week. I too can't let the opportunity pass without thanking our teachers for all of the amazing work that they do. Lots of treats out there this week. I'm seeing lots of breakfasts and I brought some ice cream for other folks. Can't do the scooping this year, unfortunately. I'm just too busy this week. We're in particular taking a lot of time to get ready, but I definitely want to get back to it next year. I did drop off some treats for the teachers. And I have one really nice treat for them. But thank you all for the teachers and all teachers that work tirelessly on behalf of students across Connecticut. So I hope you get it treated this week. All right. I know the budget hearing was last night. I think it was all of 4 minutes.
It was about 4 minutes.
4 minutes, right? It's you know, it's been pretty quiet, I gotta say. You know, I haven't seen a lot of things. I'm not seeing anything in the River East, not reading anything on Facebook, and that the budget hearing was 4 minutes last week. I'm hoping that is a sign that the wind is at our back this year. So everybody within the sound of my voice, remind, get your neighbors out there. Next month, polls are open, so referendum very important for all of us. I think it is an incredibly reasonable budget. Right now, let people exercise the franchise, and otherwise that day is coming. So be aware, next Monday, budget vote. Finally, I'm just sort of notifying the board, and I want to make sure that you're comfortable with what I'm doing. So last week, the strategic planning committee met, and at this point, my goodness, we have costs, I think, for just about everything. Renovate to news at every school, capital improvements at every school. We have a lot. There were still some questions about square footage and how things might look in different configurations. And the committee asked me to, or I really offered, and the committee said, yes, we would like you to go and design a pre-K2 ed specs plan. So I started working on that this weekend. I'm working on that now. It's pretty similar to the pre-K5 in lots of respects, just kind of scaled down, you'd expect. Now, I'm informing you of this because you know that in most cases, ed specs plan is something I would write for a Board of Education. Right? This committee is not going to be approving the ed specs plan in any way. This committee, I hope, will be approving recommendations. If they do, that recommendation would show up in front of you with that ed specs plan. So I'm just sort of letting you know now that the ed specs plan that I'm writing is sort of like a draft that I can share with both this committee and prior architects so they can put together a blocking diagram and some cost estimates. But I'm not getting ahead of you. The real ed specs plan would be something that would be exclusively within the prerogative of this board to approve.
It's hopefully gonna help the committee be able to visualize what a pre-K 2 school would look like and how much square footage is required to enact that vision.
Why wouldn't you write it for the other half? So 3 through
There's
5 or 6.
There's less of a concern about 3rd through 5th grade space wise, because either at Gildersleeve or at Brownstone, we know there's more than enough space to accommodate 3rd through 5th grade in either of those buildings. So the concern was really for the committee to visualize, is there enough square footage? We know there's enough square footage at Gildersleeve and at Brownstone. We don't know, well, we've been told there is enough square footage at Valley View. The committee wants to see it.
Oh.
So this is, Charles is gonna put it in writing and Fryer will help visualize what that would look like so the committee can see how a potential layout might work.
Could you repeat that? There's enough room for pre-K 2 at Valley View right now?
With a small extension,
Was it
with
small- with
about
12,
1200,
okay.
is it 1200 square feet? A small extension,
Oh.
but that,
Because, yeah, which is why second grade went to Gildersleeve.
right, to be clear, it would take a complete reconfiguration of the interior to take advantage of the square footage. Because currently we have some classrooms that are small and some that are very big. And wider hall, et cetera, all of that. But Mike Serrano from Fryer has said to us, there is adequate square footage with I don't want to misquote, but with a small extension. To accommodate pre-K through 2nd grade. There's questions on the committee about whether that's true or not. So Charles has offered to write in ed specifications and have Fryer mock up a design and demonstrate how that would work.
And can I just ask one more question? Is the committee aware that there's a piece of legislation to increase funding for special ed spaces to 15% if it's built into a new building, new construction? It hasn't passed yet, but it's part of a very large bill that could be passed, which we might take advantage of.
Which may impact our
Or it would
rates.
be in part, yes,
Yeah,
it would.
which very positively, which we
It
want.
would be, yeah, it would be great.
So the answer, I think Mike's pretty good at, and that's, if Trillen, and I'm not sure how far Mike would want to get ahead of the legislation
Right.
that hasn't passed yet.
Right.
He would be, he would be using his ed specs plan as well said to show us how it would work. And then also give us not only a blocking diagram,
Right.
but also the cost estimates.
Oh.
And that if that part of it, that would be the percent reimbursement that we might take.
Yeah, I'm hoping it passes. It's one of the things in the special ed. Yes.
Yeah, and that mostly I'm just kind of telling them, I'm not trying to get ahead. If you hear it out there that Charles is writing ed specs plans. This is mostly just part of the work in that committee. I understand and I know you do that. The approval of any ed specs plan would go through you, not through anybody else. That's part of state statute is that. Before we submitted any grants or before with any projects, the board's project is the ed specs plan. I'm not writing it for anybody else. It's just part of this exercise.
Just to help them understand. They're interesting people.
So it sounds as though we may have, it sounds as though there will be additional expenses from prior architecture to draw these up. Are those coming out of BOE budget and have we accounted for those?
So we paid for fire with the earlier community with our COVID relief fund. When the referendum didn't pass in November, Fryer came back with a extension of their contract, and that's being paid for by the town.
Okay.
So that this exercise is part of that second extension. At some point, Fryer's gonna say, okay, look, I've met my obligations under these agreements, stuff in the direction we're looking at today, because we're looking farther down the road. At that point, whether we went back out to bid or fire extended the contract a third time. And I believe that will be a function of town responsibility.
Okay, thank you.
This is a town.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions for Charles? Questions? Nope, all right. And let's move to the next report from our Assistant Defense Superintendent for Business and Financial Affairs, Stephanie.
So the authorized spending report was in the drive. We're moving steady along down to the last 7 weeks of the fiscal year. No, it is. I mean, I'm safe to say at this time, I mean, I know we're gonna go into the transfers later on in the agenda. But you know, before that, I'm projecting right now probably about, from what I can see available, about $225,000 surplus, which is a large difference compared to the previous year.
Difference compared to a month ago.
So I mean, and that's just, you know, open what I see. There's gonna be stuff that comes up, you know, when we close POs, there's ESY, you know, there's a few things here and there. I don't see that changing much. But it's safe to say we probably will end the year, you know, between $200,000 and $220,000. For the good. I don't know if anybody has any specific questions in regards to the projection, the report. I know, like I said, I know we have the transfers. I don't know if you want me to touch upon anything before we get into the transfers. Whatever you guys want.
And I think staff is gonna review where those savings is generally from when we get the transfer.
I do have one question.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have an answer or have we planned for if we have surplus, whether we can roll that into whatever somebody else has to remind me, but I think there was something special this year that has begun.
Good question. So we're gonna give you a preview on the non-lapsing fund idea when we get to policy. Because policy committee just did begin discussing that. But I think that when we get to fourth quarter transfers, Stephanie and Charles will have a recommendation for us about how to handle those funds. Any other questions specifically about the authorized spending report? All right, great. Thank you, Stephanie. Director of Student Services, we have Sarah with us this evening.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Nothing really significant on my report tonight. As far as our enrollment, we're at a really typical place this point in the year. One thing I do want to highlight is that the number of outplaced students is a net reduction of 2. We have had 3 students move out of Portland to other towns who were outplaced, and 1 student additional require outplacement. So that's a net reduction of 2. So you see the number there under outplacement as 20 instead of 22 in April. One other number I do want to highlight, our special education identification rate. I spoke about this a little bit in the context of our IDEA grant a couple months ago. But right now, the percentage of students in Portland that are requiring special education and related services is 22%. That is a bit high in the context of the state average, which is 17%. And we are a bit high for what's called our district reference group. So districts that are similar to us demographically and in size. It's been a focus of this year on our leadership team and our special services team and kind of looking into why that might be and some ways to possibly address it. But I just want to highlight it for the board because it will be a big piece of how we're going to use our IDEA grant and some of our professional development funds going into next year. But it is a focus for us. And then as far as our 504 identification rate, we're around 11% right now. Any questions on those 2 pieces of data? Yeah,
Are
sorry.
you tracking identification rate by subgroup? And can you speak to how we're doing? Because I
Yep.
know the state has a website. specific.
Right. Yeah. So the state tracks something called disproportionality. So every year they take the number of students identified with a given disability by different group, by race, by gender, by ethnicity, things like that. And they do a year 1, a year 2, and a year 3 disproportionality finding. So in the first year, they say, you know, for example, you've disproportionately identified Hispanic students with autism. and they say, please watch it, please review your policies. Year 2, they'll say, you're still doing this, please watch your policies. In year 3, it is mandated that you use a piece of your federal IDEA grant to set aside money to address it. So we are right now in Portland in year 3 of Black students with learning disabilities. So a lot of the professional development that I'll share about later in the report is kind of related to that. And as Charles mentioned earlier, increasing the math intervention at the middle school is related to that finding as well. So I would say, if I had to pick one area focused, right now it is students with learning disabilities. There is some discussion in the special education community around things like autism that are neurodevelopmental, if it's fair to say that's a disproportionate identification, because a lot of times that diagnosis comes from pediatricians or neuropsychologists or a doctor of some kind. So I would say learning disabilities is a significant focus for us. Yeah. Any other questions? Nope. Okay. As far as hires, no new hires. The only open position I'll always, bring up is backup van drivers. We are going to address a more full-time van driver for the 3rd van in June. Olivia and I will be posting, but we have a couple feelers out in the community of folks we think that might want to do it. But our van service has been good. We're doing well with covering driver absences. We haven't had any disruptions in service, which is great. As far as school security, I had mentioned that we took advantage of that free professional development called the Connecticut School Threat or CSTAG training. Our mental health providers and our administrators all took part in training in March. And now my work is kind of to operationalize that for Portland so that starting next year, we have that threat assessment framework kind of in place. If students are making threats to harm others or harm the school, that we have a framework that we follow. Quick PD update. I've been speaking a lot about kind of empowering our folks in district to lead professional development. Our new OT, Alyssa Law, has been doing a lot of that. Recently, she's offered some training for both certified and non-certified staff about assistive technology offerings through Google Suite, which is all free that we have with our Google Suite on our Chromebooks. And that's been really lovely, especially for paraprofessionals who work with students frequently at the secondary level. Another exciting thing, our pre-kindergarten team has been finding over the past few years that we're just seeing a significant amount of high-need students come through pre-K. So we kind of put our heads together this spring and we did visit both Colchester Public Schools and South Windsor to observe their pre-K programs, meet with their staff, and kind of brainstorm some shifts that we might want to make to our pre-K model to really align with best practices. So that's been exciting. There's a lot of brainstorming and planning going on in the pre-K team and how we can better serve the kind of students that we're finding are entering from birth to 3. As far as next year, just 2 quick things to share. I mentioned that we did receive a competitive McKinney-Vento grant. That's our homeless families in Portland. And we've identified some professional development training that we're going to use those funds for in addition to transportation and some other funds for students and their families. And then to address that 22% identification rate I mentioned earlier, we are seeking some additional professional development, some programming, some different instructional tools specifically to target students with learning disabilities. Great. Any questions on that section? Oh, all right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. All right. We're going to new business and you recall we popped D up to A, so we're going to begin with the appointment of the Gildersleeve Elementary School. So Charles, I'm going to hand this over to you.
Tracy, come on up to the podium. I get too embarrassed. So we talked about Teacher Appreciation Day, and I think that giving teachers ice cream and breakfast is a wonderful thing. But if you really want to show your appreciation for teachers, make sure they have someone like Tracy Brown running their school. If you really want to appreciate teachers, make sure they're supported. Someone who loves them, loves their kids, is all in on a positive school climate, and will walk across our poles for a teacher with any issue, whatever it might be. Never too busy, doors always open, available to the faculty, staff, students. That's what Tracy is. So I told you that my real gift for Teacher Appreciation Week was going to be giving our teachers and our students our faculty Tracy. There's no hope.
Make you disappointed.
Now, just as a reminder, Tracy was hired this time last year. I asked that, and you agreed to appoint her for a 1-year only position, and that was done in anticipation of potentially not needing a principal if we had gone through with the consolidation. We definitely need her, and I will tell you, like, there was some bittersweetness to what happened in November. The sweetness was that I was like, oh my goodness, the lane is there for Tracy now to be appointed permanently as our principal at BOE. She has exceeded all of our expectations. She is a perfect member of that school, a perfect member of our leadership team. I couldn't be more thrilled to see her be appointed to that position. And I'm very happy to recommend that to you tonight. She's here to answer any of your questions. Otherwise, I would love it if you took action to make her the permanent principal at Gilderson.
Board members, do you have any questions for Tracy Graff?
Somebody get a picture.
Well, I'm curious, Tracy, in your first year as principal, but at a school and within a community that you've been a part of for a very long time, what's it been like? What's the growth curve been like? How are the challenges? What have you loved about it? Just curious.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. It really has exceeded my expectations too. I mean, I can't thank, Charles enough for taking a chance. I know that it can be controversial to think, okay, you were a colleague and now you're moving into this leadership role. And I understand that, but my staff has been nothing short of amazing. They have been so supportive and just my biggest cheerleader. And I think because I did have a relationship with a lot of them, it did make it easier in a lot of ways. I think our communication has been great. I also can't go any further without thanking the rest of the admin team. I don't know what I would do without our group chats and, being able to call them when I need it. And Charles comes over every Tuesday morning to meet with me, and he knows now. He's like, all right, where's your Charles list? Because I always have a list of questions for him. But really, it's just been wonderful. Knowing the kids and just being able to stay in the building with families that I know and kids that I know and with the teachers, it's really just been wonderful. And I'm so appreciative of this opportunity.
Yeah, I would say, knowing you, you would make it work. And obviously, you're well loved by your colleagues. You were part of it, and I can only see much success going forward. So thrilled. We're good. Do you want a motion?
Yes, please.
I'll be happy to make a motion on behalf of the board to recommend to us, everybody, that that Tracy Graff be appointed to the principal of Gildersleeve Elementary School. Thank you, Tracy.
I will second that. I think it was seconded by Stacy and Sarah, and maybe Kim also. I don't know. Everybody. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Congratulations, Tracy, and thank you.
And I think you guys are all going out celebrating.
Yes, sure. It's
Like a big chicken, yeah. Thank you so much, thank you.
Did you get the photo you wanted, Dylan, though? It wasn't at the podium. Did you want one at the podium? Okay, all right.
Go celebrate.
Well, thank you. And congratulations, Tracy. And I don't know if you all need to stick around for any other items, but if not, please feel free to go celebrate.
You might want to stick around for the AI part because you brought.
We're doing that one next, so we'll get you out of here. All right, so we'll move to the next item, the district AI statement and the AI steering committee, so that we can free Chuck up to go celebrate also.
So John, do you want to come up to the podium, and I'll introduce you. So this is John Bork. John is an English teacher here at the high school. Let me bring you back to sort of how all of this started and kind of reframe the moment. So this time last year, you had approved a Gildersleeve grant. It was about $17,000 to provide seed funding for an AI steering committee, right? And initially, we received that Gildersleeve grant. Thank you, Gildersleeve Committee. And actually, Eric met with the Gildersleeve Grant Committee side note last night. This year's one, so I'll fill you in on this. We're still chatting. We had the AI steering grant approved, and Eric was leading us through that process through the fall. John was on that committee and is doing an amazing work. And John is a techie and is an incredible, technology person, and it's highly skilled, and was a leading voice on that committee. Eric had it in mind to tap John on the shoulder anyway. But we sort of moved that process up when Karen left. I kind of took over those responsibilities and a little busy with a lot of things. And I sort of reached out to John. Said, John, would you be willing to take this over and continue to lead us, I'll certainly will still be on that committee, kind of work with it, but you sort of have the vision for this. And he said, of course, I'm happy to do that. I think he loves AI and is using it effectively in his personal life for his own creative writing and for his work with students. And it's been a pleasure to watch him go and lead this committee, which is comprised of students, faculty, and just leaders, in terms of helping us figure out what this thing is, how it can be used effectively, and where we're taking it. So John, with that, I'm gonna let you talk a little bit about what this document is, how we created it, and how we hope to use it in the future.
Sure, sounds great. Yeah, picking up where Charles left off, Eric left examples for us around the state, models that we could look at. So from that example, we started to look at global national type examples. So we checked out the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. We looked at the National Educational Association, the NEA. And from that work, we presented a model to the steering committee where we went through drafts. So we worked together with administrators, with the students, with faculty, using these examples to kind of build out a draft. Then Meg Scotta contacted Charles, who then contacted me, and then I got into conversation with Meg, who basically gave us additional information, but based off CABE and CREC. So that in mind, basically what happened is that aligned with a lot of the work we had already been doing. It aligned with the NEA and the, UNESCO. There we go. I didn't know the acronym, so I had to look. UNESCO, and we worked together to kind of build out this document. It went through, like Charles said, through students, through faculty, through administrators, Charles, Chuck, other principals from around the district around this committee, and we worked together to come up with this statement. We modeled it after the equity statement structure because we were trying to create more cohesion within our school system. And this is the document that I'm presenting to you today. I feel confident working within this committee that this contains the core beliefs and commitments based off of national state recommendations. And I feel confident moving forward with this statement. If anyone has any questions about it, concerns, anything you would like to ask me, feel free.
I'm curious what the next step is, like looking at, for example, the first bullet point under commitments, provide ongoing professional development for educators and learning opportunities for students to build AI literacy. That's so important. And then like, how is the district operationalizing that?
So I could answer that partially. We are going to be using the Gildersleeve grant, what's left of it, to bring in, we already brought in Matt Mervis, to do some preliminary, AI teaching for the staff. And I would imagine that as we figure out what kind of framework we want to bring into our school, we would want to target what type of educational experience we would want to bring to our teachers. I really think focusing on, that framework and figuring out what we want to include on it. There are models out there. Seattle, the entire state has a whole document built out. It's like 60 or 70 pages. They provide syllabi, framework. They try to empower the teachers to even include like, hey, on this assignment, you can use no AI. On this assignment, it can be a co-creator. So you actually start to build your assessments based on how you want the AI to function within the classroom itself. So to answer that, I think it depends on where we want to go as a district. And I think that's additional work that the AI steering committee has to discuss. What do we want this to look like? Do we want to follow this model? Are we going to look around, probably look at more research and see what other models exist? I think that will inform our next steps.
Can I add something, John?
Yeah.
I think from this is the statement that the board will support. And then from this, there will be a policy developed. And again, when you talk about frameworks and how it's implemented into the curriculum, into the learning opportunities for our students, that becomes another, the work of perhaps a committee that will be looking at all of the different AI tools that are developing. That landscape changes daily because the apps become improved. You know, AI, when it first was launched, was really squirrely. You couldn't depend on whether or not you got the truth. It just accumulated information. But as each month passes, everything that I've seen internationally, nationally, even locally, you know, it's changing. What has to happen is educators have to evaluate the tools and decide whether or not we use them or not, and how they can be used effectively. But this basically deals with the equity and the inclusion, also the ethics of what AI, how AI will be used, because we don't want, and this was really important. I ran the last lap with these guys, but they've been working on this for about 18 months, and I was there when the final statement was drafted, and I was really impressed with the amount of work that had gone into it. But I will say this, that the ethics and the humanness of using AI cannot be discounted, because we always want human creativity to be the resource or what we're teaching kids in the learning environment. So
Thanks, Meg. And to follow on that, I'm asking as well, because as in any kind of technology, students that are exposed to it through school kind of levels the playing field. Because a lot of students already have access and are becoming adept at navigating AI tools in their personal lives, but it's not ubiquitous in our schools yet. So then there are certain students who don't have access to that are going to be at a disadvantage as they get older. So I'm
this
curious,
does equity,
how
it does,
can
it
we
does address
equip our
that.
students? So that's to be determined.
Yeah, it needs to be determined. The only official AI tool that we can use right now in Portland is Magic School AI, I believe. And the use of that has to be teacher by teacher, and it's you have to follow, like you have to invite them each time. There's a lot of steps around it, and I would say it's an okay tool. I don't want to go too much into it, but we definitely could use a lot more work and research in bringing AI tools into our buildings for sure. I would agree with that.
I would even take a step back. So this raises a good point. Now, let's remember, it was only a year ago from October that ChatGPT, this is 14 months in,
Yes.
right? And I will tell you that when it first came out, I think a lot of our initial looks at it was like, whoa, but this is gonna make teaching irrelevant, right? Like this could, why do we have the kids have to write papers anymore? I mean, it scared a lot of us. And I think initially, even in our knee-jerk reactions, it was block it off the server and nobody can use it, right? But then I think we caught our breath and we said, wait a minute, that might not be the right approach. And we started this work. At minimum, what I see out of this statement is a commitment to not block it off the server, right? But to start down this path, teacher by teacher, course by course, assignment by assignment, figuring out how we do it. And of course, it's going to look different everywhere. But this, I think, is the steering committee led by John and Eric, with us saying, let's be thoughtful, let's not block it, but let's understand that there could be some real dangers in it. It's like AI could be a true disruptor to student learning, or it could transform how we consider student learning. Let's now then, go forward down this journey. What that looks like, I don't know yet, right? But I think that at minimum, the ask from the steering committee is that the steering committee would like the board's recognition and endorsement of yes, go forward. Don't block it off the server and have a blanket prohibition on this. We like what you're thinking about. Keep the human in the equation. Use it ethically. If you use it, be transparent, right? If your teacher says to you, you may not use it, you may not use it. Like all of these things are first steps. And I think that what John and the steering committee is looking for is, we got you as a board, which of course would be showing up in policy and we're asking you to go forward using it in a way supervised by teachers that will minimize the harm and enhance the good.
Yeah, and sorry if that wasn't clear. This is mostly kind of just like core beliefs, commitments that we believe. The fine details are not set in stone at all. This is more if you're going to be setting policy, if you're going to be setting a framework in which to use AI, these are this is just core beliefs that we should, guiding beliefs that we should consider when creating policy, creating frameworks. So this is more like, okay, do we agree with this? Should we step forward now onto the next steps?
And if, on the other side, if the board is not comfortable with this, it would send us a message that maybe we need to take the more prohibitive approach. I don't know, I've gotten sense from the drawer, but this is the discussion. I think that where John, I think, is asking from half the AI community is a recognition of this, and at least at this very early phase of AI's impact on all of us, a nod and a yes, go forward with your work, and we think these principles, similar to with the equity statement, reflect our values.
I think it would be irresponsible if we didn't, because I'm telling you, colleges, universities, they're doing the same work, trying to figure out what is the most, ethical way to use this, how to, help talk about, access to AI out there, for a college level student. So if our students are choosing that path, you're just helping to prepare them. Whether it be that, it is a college prep course or many other industries are, really focused on AI, and everybody's kind of in the same boat. So that's just my. I think I can't tell you how many sessions I sat in on just going to one conference this year. And, and I'm part of a faculty group at Quinnipiac, and they had a great presentation, and it was a combination of their IT instructional design folks with faculty, and just really robust conversation about how to, it's like using it as a superpower instead of being afraid of it. So
those are the kind of workshops that I've been to, and also talking about policy, it's constantly the ethics of the use of it, and also the equity that is involved.
Yeah.
And we would be doing a disservice to our students if we don't approve AI. I don't think it should, it's not gonna go away. And so if you could turn it off, not use it, but I was at the convocation day last year when Russ came from Project Learn, I believe. And he's kind of the guru of AI right now, and teachers couldn't believe some of the tools that he was showing them just in terms of grading or, doing just organizational administrative things. And I did go home and take a picture of my refrigerator, and it does give you a complete menu of what you could make with the refrigerator. So just know that it's going to change everybody's life. One of the things I just want to say is, and I had taken the next step with how do you evaluate the tools, but basically to focus on the relevance of educational goals, data privacy, ease of use, actionable feedback, scalability, and variety of assessment methods and professional support is the next step to what this statement says today. This is the vision and the guidelines, but the next step is to really look at all the tools and what are we going to use and how are they going to be incorporated into the environment. So I applaud the work of the committee. Like I said, I ran the last lap, but very impressed with what you've all done.
Thank you. Yeah, and I couldn't have said it better. I think next steps, like you stated, that makes a lot of sense.
If I may add my 2 cents, I
course,
think
yeah.
it's incredible that you guys are even bringing this to the table. You're saying if you go through a policy on this, you're saying our students with the tools necessary for navigating our rapidly growing digital world, and it's going to be a crucial tool for them in that future, however it goes for them.
That's important.
I agree.
Thank you.
Great. Other thoughts, questions? No? Go ahead.
I'm happy to make another motion here. Let me just get it. To the full board, I recommend that we adopt the district artificial intelligence statement as developed by the Portland AI Squared.
Seconded by Kim. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for walking us through that, John, and for your work. And please pass our thanks along to the committee.
I absolutely will. Students and faculty know.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
John. Must be fun.
All right, as soon as Mike is back, we're gonna move on to end of year transfers.
Love technology. My age, I love technology.
All right, so the next item is end of year transfers and I know we sort of paused when we were getting a report from you before, Stephanie, we sort of paused and talking about causes of surplus and where you're recommending we direct the surplus. So I'm gonna how do you and Charles kind of talk us through this, please?
So it's very exciting to end the year in a positive note and be able to do the things that we're hopefully going to be able to do now that still 7 weeks of school left. But really, I mean, the main focus that I know, what I think it was Sarah that brought up about the other fund. I think we're kind of gonna pause on that for right now, just to wrap our heads around it. There's, policies that have to be made and there's just not enough time. And because we haven't had a couple of years where we've been able to actually transfer into the funds that we currently have. So I think that's why we're kind of going this route this year. And then hopefully going forward, once we get it, wrap our head around what the account means, how we can get it set up and going. I think it would be great to start something like that.
We're also anticipating that that's gonna take some collaboration with Tom and that we don't want to rush that or make it anybody feel uncomfortable. We want to kind of give that the time that it will require.
Understood. Thanks.
So as of right now, after talking to Charles many times, I'm recommending, and that's why the motion says up to $150,000, because that gives us some wiggle room, to, depending on where we land, if there's many things that we haven't been able to purchase. We need to update our desktops for the Microsoft. So we're trying to gather quotes together. So we're allotting some of the end of year surplus for the desktops for the computers. We have to cover the $50,000 cut from if the budget passes. We were cut $50,000. So the anticipation of that would be to purchase commodities that were in people's budgets for next year and purchase them with end of year savings this year. So that's $50,000 for that. And then the transfer to Fund 11 and the transfer to the food service account. And really, I mean, the majority of it is going to go to the IT department for faculty, Chromebooks, and the desktops and the monitors, some student services stuff. I haven't spoken to the principals yet about, what it'll look like for them. But it's gonna be a very busy couple of weeks coming up. And I said, I'm not gonna be there on June 30 placing orders. So that's why it's good to know at least upfront how much around what we have. And then I can kind of, check off the list. Sarah already sent me her list all ready to go. And, it's just getting the quotes and getting everything ready to do it. And then the question, how did we get here when we were $350,000 in the deficit last year? And that's the thing, we say every time when we make a budget, it's 18 months in advance. You don't know where you're going to be. So when we built the 24-25 budget, it was based off of all the information we had from previous year. We get to this year and things change. So I'll just touch upon a few of the things that led to the surplus. One of them is Charles' favorite, not filling Eric's position and having Charles do the job. And that saved about $61,733 from that. Savings in transportation from the van purchase for student services. Olivia has been great at combining runs and, people that we didn't anticipate being on it, they were able to figure it out. I don't have a dollar amount exactly for that. It's too hard to put a number on, but that's a portion of it. We moved occupational therapy in-house mid-year instead of contracted services, huge savings with that. Just when we do all of our summer hiring, a lot of people left within the last 2 weeks of summer, and a lot of the people we hired were younger teachers, which then leads into the benefits piece of it. We have about $220,000 in savings from our medical, just from the population changing from who left us to who picked it up.
You say 220?
220. Now, again, that could turn around next year, depending on who leaves and, but I just kind of had to go based off of what current. Special education, we had, and Sarah's still here in case, there's any questions, but, we had two very medically fragile students, who weren't in school for many months. So those were bills that we weren't paying for transportation and outplacement costs. One student, was waiting for a new outplacement, so we weren't paying bills for that. So, I mean, that made a huge difference, having the pause in those bills. But those three students will all be returning in the fall and are in the 25-26 budget. So, it looks like a savings now. It's not gonna carry forward. But it just helped us out in our current position that we're in now. I'm still waiting for this one. It says it's coming. The excess cost, the additional money that they were allotting to the districts based off of the
40 million.
Yep. So, when I talked to the state, our portion is about 79,000. They said to anticipate getting that, around June. So I'm marking it as part of my projections, but, leave it until I see it. So that's why I say in my motions up to, so that it gives us leeway. This year, we have changed our structure of how we did our Hartford billing, to match how basically we get billed for every service from every other district, where our kids go. We felt that this was the best route to go. It benefits us, benefits the programming, for the students. And then lastly, so at the end of each year, I do what's called the Medicaid cost report. It's always for the previous year. So they audit it and they give us our report, now. So for the 23-24 school year, we got notification that we weren't paid. We got underpaid Medicaid. So based on what we submit, what are the people that put the claims and what I put in for our administrative piece. So we're gonna be getting about $13,655 in addition, at the end of June, to go towards Medicaid costs, which really is any kind of purchase services, OT, PT, anything, any kind of purchase service that can go towards that. So that was a nice thing to get that we were getting. So, with all of that, all of the grants that we have, it's kind of where we're at right now. That's a lot, I know. And like I said, I don't have numbers for everything, the ones that I did have numbers, I gave you, but. So yeah, so I'm happy to be where we are this year.
I just have a question because I know we talked about IT and maybe outsourcing some of our IT stuff. And you mentioned a piece of cybersecurity software, something that we need that would be included in this service.
So we're meeting with Craig from AOS on Friday to go over the audit. And so, if there's something additional that's commodities, something that we can purchase that we need with this year's money, then we will allot. That's why I said up to 150. So if we have to take some of that to purchase this new security piece or whatever it ends up being.
I'm very much curious to find out because we don't have the in-house skill that would cost a lot of money for us to hire somebody to be that IT cybersecurity administrator person.
Yeah, what I'll give you at the next one. I just literally got it.
Okay.
Like every word.
I know.
Break.
I know.
I just didn't have time to get to that.
Yeah, no, that's
I got
fine.
it today. We're gonna review it. We contracted iOS and asked them to come in and look at all of our tech stuff.
Right.
Wireless hotspots, Chromebooks, desktops, servers, firewall, everything.
Good.
And sort of ask them to do like a sightlines report. Give me what must be replaced now, what's a midterm thing to be aware of, and what's something longer term, an audit that we could use to develop a tech replacement cycle. One of those things is called VMware. I'll give you a better definition of what that is and what it does. So I know it's very important. Cybersecurity is part of your file. It's gotten a lot more expensive, so they're recommending to replace it with another product that's less expensive. So Stephanie and I are going to review that. And those things on that fix immediately or you're in big trouble list are some things that we might be able to chip away at with some of this end of your savings and still be able to put some money in its storage.
And I guess the last question I have is, are we tied into any of the town stuff at all? Is that we are a separate entity when it comes to our own IT stuff, correct? I was in my class.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
No, I think that's tantamount to. Is what's coming down the pike with AI and all the rest of it is more requirements for cybersecurity, so. You know.
And I do know we've purchased, because of the surplus, we purchased, which Bob was here, some kind of panel thing. I don't know exactly what it is that we've needed. We're purchasing for the secondary school.
Was it the lights or something? Oh.
No, it's some sort of security system.
Oh, okay.
That we've been needing and we just haven't had funds for. We're replacing at the high school, the auditorium, the projector, the screen, which is about $37,000. So we're able to get that done. Bob's replacing some doors in the high school. Doors are that expensive.
These
So-
are all things that have been on the list for quite a while.
So, and and even after all that, we still have
Good.
to have
All
that.
right.
So, we're trying to put through as much as we can. Well, we
It's good to
can.
be able to do some of those maintenance items. It's really, that's really key.
Thank you. Thanks.
Does everyone feel clear on what the recommendations are for transferring funds to Fund 11 and to the school lunch fund? Are there questions about those pieces specifically?
On the lunch one, do we do that every year? Or is this something special?
So the lunch fund is, what we haven't done in the last couple of years because we've had so much money. We've
Oh,
had so much money that we couldn't transfer it in. So this helps.
It's also, we didn't have money to transfer. That was
Right.
it.
Right, well, it ended up working out, but either way, because per the state, you can't carry more than 3 months of your operating expenses in your lunch fund. And because we got so much money from the feds during COVID and everything, we bought all new serving lines at all the schools with extra money. We replaced all the cafeteria tables with extra money, because you have to spend down anything
yeah.
for your
Okay.
3 months. And that's why up to, I haven't even looked at our lunch fund. With Sodexo, we're not too far negative, so I've just looked at our fund balance to see, because we may not even be able to put in that much, because I can't exceed the 3 months.
Okay.
But I want to put that transfer in there in case we do end up needing it, and then so we don't have to come back to the board and do it. So we may or may not do that. It's just, we put it on file to have it so that I could do the transfer if we need to.
I believe, so Bob watched the strategic capital committee through all of the potential capital, anticipated potential capital needs at the various schools. And there were several items that he, noted, I'm not including this on the list for potential bonding because these are projects that he could tackle with the school lunch fund. So I guess it might be worth, if we're still pretty well funded, it might be worth asking Bob to kind of take a look at what those items are. Are there any high priority items right now that might be worth tackling, especially if
We just bought a new oven, because we still had some money in Fund 08 that we had gotten transferred to us a couple years ago that we never used because we've had so much money. So we got new ovens for the kitchen and the high school. But I usually budget to do the transfer every year, whether we need it or not. And then it also does cover our student debt, which that is currently $6,700, give or take, which is pretty high for a school our size. So we're trying to figure that out too. So that covers, because we can't use our fund to eat the debt. We have to actually transfer money from our LEA or pay our lunch fund back for the debt. So a portion of that is also to cover that as well.
That's incurred by people not paying or.
Because we have to give everybody the option for a meal and they don't have money on their account. It just
Have we
accrues.
thought about increasing, I know we haven't done it for a while, but we can increase it by 10 cents per meal or whatever by federal law. Have we talked about increasing the amount?
Well, we don't want to increase it because then that'd be even more
I
money
know.
to get that we would have to. We haven't raised it in a while. I think we raised it 5 cents at the high school this year, maybe Brownstone. I don't think we did the elementary schools, just because the cost of things are going up now. And now that we're not
They
getting as
are.
much money, but on the flip side, we're paying their bills. So, and we just end up writing it off at the end of the year.
is that typical at this point in the year that people would get behind and then eventually maybe catch up? Or is it just, I'm just curious about how that debt typically looks. Like, does it kind of spiral?
So, we have a lot of people that reach out to families, you don't want to bother them too much. We're not a collections agency and,
Right.
you know, we're not going to get a collections agency for something that small. But, you know, as students graduate or move on from school to school, we try to get them to pay. We can't hold their diploma. We can't hold anything if they don't pay it.
Not
So.
suggesting that we ought to. I'm just
No.
kind of
Right.
curious about what the expectation is around, you know, do you anticipate that some families don't realize they're behind and then they catch up? Or do we kind of expect that this is about what it will look like at the end of the year?
My hope is no. I mean, I see it fluctuate, you know, I see, you know, towards the end of the month, you know, it'll be a little bit lower, you know, because it's a secretary got hold of a family that collected on there. But when I spoke with the state, they had a recommendation where, because we've had people ask this too, can I donate? For bad debt. So, I was talking to a person from the state who used to was in the East Hartford school system, and she said they created a, you know, no hungry lunch fund or something where, you know, people, if they want to donate money, for people in need, you know, it would go to that account and we can use that to help offset. Or when students graduate, if they have money on their account, you know, give them the option, do you want to roll it to a younger sibling? Do you want to add it to this donation account or do you want to refund? So we have to put a policy in, you know, an internal policy in place on that.
Do you think that some parents are just not aware that there's no longer free lunch or free breakfast and they didn't fill out the paperwork? You know, or are embarrassed now to fill out the paperwork?
I mean, we send the paperwork home with the students. In the beginning of the year, we give it to them. As we see the amounts creep up, we after 30 days, they have to get sent to Sarah. But you know, it's all by phone and email, and it's easy to hit, you know, decline or not pick up.
How about you start sending up a letter or something?
They do. And I think it's kind of come to the point where people realize it's just gonna go away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and years ago, it was like, well, we have a peanut butter sandwich in the back room.
Yeah,
for you, and
you can't do that now.
because that's not the equity of serving a lunch to a kid, so.
So we're working on it, trying to figure out ways to help mitigate that.
I just wanted, thank you.
Any other questions about school lunch fund or Fund 11, our education, sorry, the Board of Education maintenance fund?
Make a motion. Sure. To recommend to the Portland Board of Education to approve the transfer of up to but not exceeding $150,000 to the Board of Education Maintenance Fund, Fund 11, from available fiscal year 2024-25 Board of Education appropriations.
Is there a second? Seconded by Sarah. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Followed up with the second motion.
Sure. I'll make a motion to the full board to transfer up to but no more than $35,000 to the school lunch fund, which is known as Fund 5, from the designated fiscal year 2024-2025 Board of Education appropriations.
Is there a second? A second, seconded by Stacy. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. All right. The new item D is the Ryan Fund purchase of drums from Portland High School Music.
So when we sit down with the principals during the budget development process, we're often making cuts like, okay, we're gonna include that, we're not gonna include that. And Stephanie and I are often saying, we're not gonna include that, but that might make a great Gildersleeve grant at some point. You know, we're sort of triaging requests. Well, this year, Kate brought a request for new drums for music. And Stephanie and I, we made cuts, like Stephanie was always very smart, and she's like, hey, that would be a good thing to spend on the Ryan Fund. Now, I will be honest with you. I said to Stephanie, what's the Ryan Fund?
Yeah.
You know, and she did some work, and it's a fund that we have available. I even called our local historian, Meg Scotta, and I said, Meg, what's the Ryan Fund? This appears to have been at one point a memorial scholarship fund that no longer serves as a memorial scholarship, but now is available for us to use for things like these drums. I would love it if anybody in town here knows what this fund is. I would, since it's a memorial, right? I would love to be able to say a little bit about the family or the person who this is memorializing and continue to reflect on that person's generosity. but I can't do that. I don't know.
Well, I made a couple of calls, and so we may find out.
The last person that did was Howard, and he's not here anymore. 1970, I pulled the document, 1977, it came in as a scholarship for $5,000. And then all the years of accrued interest and it at one point had $97,000 in it. And I don't know who was here on the board, but we used money from it for the Learning Cafe
Yes, we
here at the
did.
high
Yeah.
school. Used about $37,000 out of it for that. And then in 2020, we used it for other musical instruments for the high school.
So thank you for the year, because we weren't sure what the year was. The person who I called was the guidance secretary, who was there forever, but it was after that. She knew it was a scholarship fund, and it stopped being used as a scholarship fund.
Yeah, it says in 2002, upon the first day of July 2002 or prior thereto, the purpose and objects for which this trust is created. So if there's nobody left as of 2002 that was part of the trust, if it hit that, then it would turn into to be applied in furtherance of educational purposes at Portland High School. So it's very specific. It's got to be something at Portland High School to be used for.
So at this point, I would say Ryan family or Ryan individual, thank you from 1977. If there is any members of the Ryan family, those, let us know. I mean, it's money that we are using to benefit. I'd love to just say a few nice things about,
Somebody
to memorialize this.
He was a doctor, so Gerard Ryan, MD.
Thank you, Dr. Ryan, and if anybody is hearing this and wants to give me a call and educate me about this, I will. There you go.
I texted my wife, it was a Dr. Ryan for the family suite. I graduated in 78, so it sounds another. She may not. I think that Dr. Ryan was her next door neighbor.
Well, if there's any family members or anybody that for us to say thank you, I would love that opportunity to say. So here's up Dr. Ryan, and this, we have these funds available. The request came in, we could use it for these drums for the Portland Music Department. I'd be happy to ask you to do that.
No, the mystery continues. Thank you.
How much are the drums?
So it's out to bid right now. So I would say probably between $15,000 to $17,000. It's a set of 4 timpani, I don't know much about music. Timpani drum set.
Big one.
My son's in a band and I went to the band concert and they sit back there with it, so.
Yeah, excellent.
All right, well, I'll make a motion to recommend to the Portland Board of Education to approve the use of the Ryan Fund resources to purchase drums for the Portland High School Music Department in the amount not to exceed 20.
Thank you, Kim. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh,
Okay.
Stacy.
Stacy, go for it.
Thank you, Stacy. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously, and how wonderful and excited for our music department. Sure was much needed. All right, item E is approval of the Middletown Stage Building Usage Application, and you'll recall this is an application we've gotten every year for the last bunch of years. We've been using our facility in the summer camp. Charles, is there anything you want to highlight about the application?
No, it's just it's basically the same as last year. We quoted them an amount 14,565. Those represent the new rates for the building usage. It's a nice revenue stream for the district. Otherwise, facilities aren't used in the summer. We have figured out how to share with the park, the rec camp that is here. We've gotten better every year for sharing. And
They do overlap currently.
there's 2 camps going on here. Most of the park and rec stays on this side and this camp uses on the other side, but you know,
it works.
It worked out well and I didn't say it was perfect, but it has gotten better every year and that's what we're looking for. But you know, hey, the productions they do is great. It's nice to see kids here using the stage and the facilities and having that arts effort. They are all Portland students, but they're kids in our city and they're having a great experience.
And many of them are Portland kids.
Many of them are
Highlight
Portland
that.
for sure.
Yeah.
Happy to have them back and support them. And you know, for $14,565, it's a revenue stream that maybe we owe to the community to maximize them since people facilities like Glen and so happy.
We have a beautiful auditorium space. It is nice to know that it can be used throughout the year, even when our students are.
Where does that money go? What fund?
To the town.
To the what?
To the town. It's
Oh, the
revenue
town,
stream.
okay.
But we, we benefit from the town helping
Yeah.
us when boilers, thriving things, so. Well, one hand shakes the other, whatever their statement, whatever that is. Anyway, I'll make
Good
a
question,
motion.
though.
Yeah, I have the motion.
Sure.
All right, I have a motion to recommend to the full board that we approve the use of the school facilities by the Middletown Stage Program during the summer of 2025. That presented from the.
Is there a second? Seconded by Sarah. Any further discussion? Questions? No, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. All right, excellent. The next three items, are personnel related and will be discussed in executive session. So this is, the Portland Administrators Bargaining Unit and MOU, regarding the Director of Teaching and Learning position. A discussion about the extracurriculars stipends MOU, as well as ratification of the Municipal Employees Union Local 506 SEIU Bargaining Unit Agreement. So we will tackle those three items in executive session and then take action on them afterwards. We do not have any old business this evening. So we're going to move on to committee reports. Curriculum did not meet this month. We're looking to have, our next conversation is going to be about play-based learning at, in our youngest grades, and the principals weren't ready to have that conversation with us just yet. So we'll be looking to schedule a new date.
Policy met tonight, and we made some good progress on some old business and also on cell phone policies, guidance coming for first, a statement that the board will be looking at probably in the next week or next month or two, about cell phone use. And our next meeting is May 20th.
And then we discussed the non-lapsing funds as well.
And right, the non-lapsing fund, which still is in development stages. The catch, the time to be able to do it with our finance director in the town.
Right. Personnel, we are currently in negotiations, still ongoing negotiations with with the nurses, thank you. And we had also met to discuss the things that we'll be discussing in executive session. So the position around the Director of Teaching and Learning, and as well as some of the technology stuff that I think Charles is not quite ready to make a recommendation onto the board, but that'll be coming at some point. Buildings and grounds.
We have not had a meeting, sure, well, when we get an update on the boilers.
Correct liaison?
Correct, the annual meeting is May the 21st, and Charles, you're invited to attend that luncheon. Correct, I mean, the 21st in person. Yes. Yeah, we're still struggling with legislative stuff. Correct to see. On the days out.
Dave, for selectmen.
I got a few things. One thing that came up was the 250 committee next year. Someone made a comment, they're still waiting on a Board of Education.
We had a recommendation.
Okay.
They're firming up for availability.
Okay. Possibly a farmer's market coming to town, location TBD, can be good. River access, hopefully by the end of the year at our new site, they're doing a lot of work down there. You also mentioned the budget vote next Monday. And one kind of thing I was gonna bring up earlier, which I'm not sure I'm understanding it, but one of the selectmen said something about the condition of the high school parking lot is quote unquote horrible.
Was that statement made in the context of now that we have a track and hosting these meets, the amount of people who are parking up there? And that some people think they can park just about anywhere, including in front of fire hydrants or in handicap lanes, and that when some folks are asked to move along, they're not so nice about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I just, there was a comment that was made, so. I didn't know if there'd been something I was unaware of.
Yeah, we don't have any problem. There's more than ample parking and the parking lots are in good condition. I have been made aware by the high school principal, school security coaches and facilities folks that we hosted a few of the big track meets with so many people. People just were kind of parking all over the place because we didn't have enough spots in the back. If you want to park up here, you were fine, but that would be
Right.
the way around. But to park in the back, they were out of spots and some folks, I don't know who, or exactly what, but I understand that there were some people who weren't the most polite in the world when they were asked not to park in certain places because the fire lanes or whatever, and they were a little grumpy about it, which come on. I mean, it's great. We have this track now. We can host the track meets are huge when you have schools and buses rolling in from all over the state. It's great. We have this timing system and this amazing track, but yeah, you might have to park. If you need to park in Valley, if you walk up the hill, that's the way it goes. We need to park from a fire hydrant. And there was some discord. I wasn't here for it. I only heard about it secondhand, but you know, we don't want to have to get police involved but if we need to, you know, that's, I don't know if that's what it was.
I don't know. I took it more or less like the condition of the blacktop was in bad shape, but I don't know what it was.
I haven't noticed anything personally, but if anyone is aware of areas that you've mentioned, they should.
I think
share
it's
that.
probably more about that. That's my
That
issue.
issue, yeah.
That's only my only, as far as the condition of the problem, my fair guy. I mean, it's not the greatest, I mean, there are some cracks in it, but I'm not aware of anything. You're parked out there now and you see any potholes or something I'm sorry, I don't know. I think it was, I do think it was that, and from what I understand, it was some relatively public animosity.
Thank you. Youth Services Advisory.
Nothing new. They did have a couple of JRB, Juvenile Review Board, clients, and, they're always looking for people from the community or other board members that would like to serve on the juvenile review board. These are kids who admit their guilt and then come off and through restorative practices, learn and are rejoined to their community. And it's a good process.
Equity and Inclusion Coalition.
The next meeting is May 29th. And we haven't met since our last one.
All right, and Strategic Capital Improvements Committee, Charles sort of gave an update on where we're at with that earlier in his report, but I believe our next meeting will be the first week of June to allow some time for the development of a draft ed specs as well as the blocking diagrams that Prior is going to create for us. But they're still working on nailing down the date will be that first week of June. But there will be a presentation from Prior that evening. So if anyone's curious, that might be a good meeting to tune into. I don't know whether there will be action taken at that meeting or not, but I think we are kind of trying to close in towards the end of the process and being able to make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen and Board of Education. So if anyone has questions, I'm happy to try and answer them. Right. Then we'll move on to audience of citizens. We have one citizen. Anything, John?
I do. My wife texted me back. Her next door neighbor was Dr. Brad. She believes he was a physician at Elmcrest Psychiatric Hospital. And he did pass away in the mid-70s because he lived next door and his secretary was given the house in his inheritance. And he had no children. So I'll do some more digging. I'm sure maybe you'll come up with it, but it sounds like it very well could be Dr. Ryan, who did a lot, probably because Elmcrest at that time was an adolescent school. So that it may be money. If I find out anymore, I'll give the information.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
Yeah,
Thank you, Maura.
That's more than I, yeah, Matt Capello couldn't remember, much more of the industry is still going on.
Do we have anyone online who wishes to offer comment at this point? Thank you. All right, Board of Ed member comments. Let me start over here. Liam, anything?
Yeah, first, I would like to offer my congratulations to the appointment of Principal Graff.
Wonderful.
And secondly, I would also like to thank all the teachers here in Portland for all they do for our schools. They really make the school district we have. It's all.
Thank you, Liam. Agreed.
I echo your appreciations, Liam. And also as a side note, we did the DECA Easter egg fundraiser and those folks nailed it. They even had like a personalized card for the kids. My kids were convinced the Easter Bunny had come.
But
Yeah, congratulations to Mrs. Graff and a shout out to our tremendous teachers. They're very.
agreed.
I would say the same. The Principal Graff and also all of the teachers, they do an amazing job every day, and every day should be Teachers' Day. I do have a statement, because I'm peripherally involved in the farmers market, which is farmers market and the artisan market. On behalf of the committee, they would like, somebody else was supposed to say this. Well, I would like to take the time to address the Board of Education, and to Dr. Britton. The community's response has been overwhelming, by a number of people. We realize the benefits of and the historical significance of the farming community of Portland and the opportunity for such a market to make and collaborate with the schools through agriculture, entrepreneurship, CTE, STEM, and more inclusive of the food to table movement. The committee what is it here, is hoping to, actually somebody reached out to, some of the art teachers, and through the PTO, we have some students that are developing logos that will be used with the farmers market, which is very exciting. I think there's a middle school art class that is also doing some graphic design. And it is exciting. They would be doing 4 markets over the course of the summer, and then building on that through the next season. So it is very exciting, and there were like 18 or 20 people that ever volunteered for anything before. And they're farmers, they're bakers, they're organizers, and Grace Ullman is the one who started this. She's a new resident in town, and she's got about 25 people. I helped her to kind of organize where she should go and who she should talk to in terms of, just the organization, the Chatham Health District, and First Selectmen and whatnot. That's the role, and that's it. So that's our statement from the farmer and artisan market. So look forward to that.
Thanks, Meg.
You're welcome.
Stacy.
Just appreciative of the student spotlight as always, but that crossover program, I think, is key when you think about, I think it was one of the students that said, they had a lot of technology challenges, and, the use of problem solving and just the school collaboration is just going to help everyone later in life, and the technology problems don't go away. And it's also, today is the kickoff of Nurses Week and Nurses Day. So for all of our school nurses,
Is that nurse?
Nurses Day is today, but it's a full week. Let me tell you, it's a full week. And I am surrounded by, I said I have too many in my orbit to name them all, but but Nurses Day is today.
Oh, well, thanks, Stacy.
Yeah, the kind of.
Similar comments, thank you to all the teachers, all the hard work they do. Appreciate them much. And just a side comment, it was great seeing the studio for the first time, and made me start thinking, maybe there's some venue, maybe it's just me, like we have a weight room we funded, I've never seen, we have this room here.
You must not have been at the
Like,
meeting.
yeah.
You were.
Oh, you went down and saw it?
Went down and saw it.
Oh, okay. I was saying, if we do things like this,
Yeah.
we do something like that.
Maybe if you want, we could put a spotlight on there to go see some of these that we.
No, yeah, you're right. You should definitely do the weight room. It looks beautiful.
Yep.
And I would love to see the new studio in person too.
And then when we get the drums, you know. Special performance.
That's right. Yeah, that's a great idea. Did you have anything else? And I don't know that I have anything else. Aside just to echo everybody's sentiments, happy Teacher Appreciation Week, and thank you to our incredible teachers and incredible staff at all of our schools. We are so very lucky in Portland. All right, so we are gonna move into executive session. I do need a motion. There's a list of 3 long things, so I don't know who's up for reading it.
Well, I'll just say so moved and how do I have to read? the whole
You do
thing?
have to read it, I believe.
Yeah, thing, okay. So I suggest that we move into executive session and invite Dr. Britton to join us for the purpose of the Portland Administrative Bargaining Unit Memorandum of Understanding for the Director of Teaching and Learning, ratification of municipal employees union local 506 SEIU bargaining union agreement 2025 to 2028 in the extracurricular stipends memorandum of understanding.
Is there a second? Seconded by Sarah. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Excellent. We will enter executive session.
Leave the camera. Yep. Camera in the center. Okay, everything else. We'll adjourn.
Great.